Hey folks, Shane and Patrick with ESEE Knives and Randall's Veteran Training, and today we're in Russell Reece's workshop of Cohutta knives. How you doing, Russell?
Good.
Thank you for having us.
Yep.
So a few weeks back, maybe 2 weeks back, we were at Fall Gathering.
Weeks, yeah.
Okay, we're at Georgia Bushcraft Fall Gathering. I had my 0000 Cohutta production prototype there on the table, and somehow through the course of that show, being that it's a Scandi grind, somebody had, I think, set the knife down maybe and hit another knife with it, and it kind of deformed the tip a little bit. I was a little heartbroken. I showed it to Russell, who happened to be in the booth right next to us, Russell and Amy from Warlander Enterprises. Russell said, "I got something to fix that." And he pulled out this gizmo, which I had never seen before. So Russell, what is this?
It's basically just a riser that has some leather on one side, cork on the other, and you clamp a belt to it, and it works great for giving you a really nice convex edge, and it's just a simple way of sharpening.
So one thing I noticed about this thing is that now anybody that follows our stuff, and Patrick and I talk about all the time about how much we use a strop. One of the things that we see oftentimes, there's a lot of people that are challenged in the sharpening side of things, and it is something that it's a skill that you have to develop. A mistake I see a lot of new sharpeners make is they go out and buy a powered sharpener, and then they hog off more material, mess up the edge geometry. One thing I noticed immediately when Russell started using this device is that it's very efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times your strops are pretty short,
Yep.
and so you're doing a lot of passes. And what I saw right away was Russell was taking off a pretty significant amount of material, but had a lot of control over it. Where did this idea come from?
Originally, I saw this at the Fiddleback Forge shop, and I don't know if it was Andy Roy or Dylan Fletcher that came up with the idea, but I came home and built one, and it works great.
So what we have here is cork that came from a Felpro gasket kit from just an auto parts supply place. Ideally, this was a little harder to find than I thought. This is 3/32. I was looking for an 1/8 inch thick to give us that nice little convex edge, but this is all I could find, so this is what we went with. Russell assures me we won't have any problems with it. And then we've got leather on the back side that we can use as a finished strop. But tell us something about this leather and how it relates to these belts.
Well, the leather and the cork as well just has a slight amount of give to it and gives you a nice convex that's not overly thick.
Right.
And
something to take note of, you mentioned, is that the material, the abrasive material from the belts,
yes,
will work its way into the leather. So be careful with this strop, because it will be, over time and use, it will become more abrasive than maybe what you're used to, correct?
Correct. Yeah, as you're using that, eventually, I don't have mine that I've been using down here, the grit and the metal dust that you create sharpening will work its way under that and kind of embed itself into the leather. So keep an eye on that.
Go slow. You don't have to have a whole lot of pressure to let the strop do the work.
Nope. Light pressure, and that's all you need.
So tell us about setting this up. When we go to set this up, all we're using here is just some basic clamps. Tell us about this belt. What are the dimensions on the belt? What grit? What are you using?
The belt is a 2x72 micron film belt made by 3M. This one is a 40 micron, which is roughly a 400 grit. Occasionally I'll use the 30 micron, which is closer to 600. I can't remember the grits exactly, but if you look them up online, you can find all the info you need on grits. They have them up to 800 or 1,000. And they're relatively cheap, and they last a pretty good while. The 40 micron is really good at removing plenty of material.
And still giving a good finish edge, more or less.
It's not a real coarse edge like you get off most stones, or diamond stones at least.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the coarser diamond stones, so they work really well.
All right. Thoughts, Patrick? Have you used it?
I haven't used one yet.
All
Seen
right.
it and watched him use it. I like it.
So we're going to get some video. We're going to drop some video in. If you have questions, feel free to hit them up in the comments. Give Russell a follow at Cohutta, Cohutta, Cohutta Knife on Instagram. He makes phenomenal stuff. We're always happy to be here. Russell, thanks again for having us over.
Glad to see y'all.
Appreciate it.
Good to be here. Hey, like, follow, subscribe, all the normal stuff. Stay tuned for more episodes of the SE Rat Pack podcast. That'll be coming out at some point. We got to do some recording first. I think we're going to get Russell and Amy on one as well. Hey, thank y'all. Take care. That was easy.
Well, maybe I didn't mumble too bad.
No, he did great. All right, Russell, so what I do when I'm teaching a class, say I use this knife, teaching trap triggers, whatever, I'll touch it up with a strop. You know, very seldom do I use any kind of stone or anything like that. If I do, I'll use the little paddle diamond file, you know, like James Gibson showed in the video.
Yep.
So using this, show me the best method, the way you would do it.
The way I typically do this is edge trailing. Just find your whatever angle you want and start at the tip. Do a pass, full length, flip it over, come back.
And how much pressure are you putting down right there, Russell?
Not much. Very, very little.
You letting the belt do the work?
Yeah, pressure is kind of a relative thing because to me, light pressure may be a lot of pressure, or to vice versa. So you'll have to kind of play with that and get a feel for it, but it don't take much. The belt and that cork or leather either side gives you that nice convex, so it does not take much. Typically I'll do a few passes on one side until I have a burr the entire length of the edge, and then flip over, go the other direction.
And that burr, people often talk about, like, they call it a burr, they call it a wire edge, where you can feel that the edge essentially is rolled to one side, and you want a uniform wire edge on that thing, and then you can flip it over and work that off, correct?
Correct. Usually I don't attempt to work the burr off. I'll just make sure that I have one the entire length of the edge. If I'm working one side, flip it over, work the other side, and then as a final pass, like once I have it the entire length of the edge, I'll flip to the opposite side and do one pass, and that just kind of loosens it up. So when you go to the strop, it takes fewer passes on the strop to actually get it to break off and give you that nice sharp edge.
Nice.
So, give it a try.
So you started here and it was a push,
Nope. Pull.
pull.
You can do that either way, but
So start here and it's a pull. And then that was a push.
that was a push.
Right.
The edge is trailing just like you would on a strop.
And Russell, you say this works great on axes too, right?
It does. It's such a long pull, and you have so much more abrasive to work with as compared to a regular stone. It just works faster and is much more efficient at giving you a good convex versus trying to do it with a handheld stone.
Do not like it.
What do you think, P?
I like it. I'm not gonna do any more passes. I might mess your knife up.
We can fix it.
Man, that was. I think I found my new favorite sharpener. Russell, what are your prescribed or recommended belts on this?
You could use pretty much any 2x72 belt on it.
2x72.
Yep. It's the standard knife maker's belt. So there's a lot of variety. You could use the J-Flex belts, which are cheaper, but they don't last as long as those micron belts. But at the same time, you can get those up to, I know they make them up to at least 600 grit for the J-Flex. But the backing is a little softer, so it's a little harder to get them pulled tight and lay down flat than the micron belts.
I can see where I've pulled a little bit more of the powder coat off of this thing to knock a little bit more of that shoulder off the edge so you get a little more even convex.